This is the Vision with Execution show. My name's Adam Torkelson. I'm your host. I'm joined by Jared Rohatinsky today. He's a fellow Utahn. We live maybe 5 minutes away from each other, but we have to use technology to record things like this. And I'm coming at you from my basement right now. This is the best lighting in my entire house. And Jared, thank you for being on my show today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. I'm coming from the wonderful lighting of a tiny pod room in the Provo kiln. So,
Oh, nice. Very Gen Z millennial of you.
yeah, absolutely. It's how I roll.
So, real quick, I'm going to read out your little intro that you sent me. Jared is a former startup CEO and has spent the last several years as COO of a venture capital firm. And I know that that is called Rev Road, even though you didn't
Correct.
mention it. And you're passionate about combining strategic vision with practical success. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how you are actually planning on doing that because everybody who comes on my show, I ask them to talk about their vision for 2025 and how they're going to execute that into reality. And I feel like you're the sort of person that has a brain that really loves to work on problems and solutions and making things more efficient and strategic. So I look forward to learning from you and picking your brain on all that kind of stuff. But first, the first time you and I met was at a event at Sandlot Partners office in Orem,
Hmm.
I believe. However, I went to school with your brother, Josh, your
That's
older
right.
brother, and um, I could never pronounce your guys' last name to my own satisfaction,
Join the club.
and I still don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But
So, so I say Rohatinsky. Most people just say Rotinsky. Just make it a little bit easier. Three syllables.
and that is exactly how I've been pronouncing it,
Yeah.
and I know some of the pain of what it feels like to try and get
Yeah.
other
No
people
kidding.
to pronounce your last name. Uh, when I'm meeting people for the first time, I've tried all different ways to introduce myself with just calling myself Torque because that was my nickname in high school. People just called me Torque. Or I'll just say, yeah, here's my last name. It's pronounced Smith. And those are probably my two favorite ways to introduce myself to people. And depending on what kind of reaction I want to get out of them will determine which route I go. But
Sure.
I really, one of my favorite things is making people laugh, but I'm not a dad joke sort of person. And I don't know if my kids like that a lot about me compared to other dads who are just constantly cracking dad jokes. But
Well, do any kids like dad joke? I feel like it's the eye roller. Like no one really likes dad jokes other than dads, right?
I mean, that's my opinion as well. But at the same time, I feel like maybe my kids are missing out on some cultural phenomenon that
Mm,
maybe other families they don't know the difference.
yeah, kind of
They
they're
can't,
missing a rite of passage or something.
yeah, something like that. I
Mm.
don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. This
That's,
literally that just popped into my head for the first time in my entire life just now. So take that for
well,
what
I,
it's
I
worth.
I can tell you, I don't think I'm changing my kids' lives with my dad jokes yet, but
But that's the goal.
absolutely.
That's a good point. So, Jared, how many kids do you have?
I have four boys, all under the age of 9.
Wow, you have an
So
amazing wife. That's awesome.
absolutely. And that is why I am in the Provo kiln today. My home environment isn't exactly conducive to getting a lot of work done. So I tend to find other places to work.
Yeah, do you typically work out of your house if you're just working in general?
No, I did for a while. Well, when the oldest kids were still younger, I was able to pull it off, but it helps me get into a different headspace both ways, right? When I leave to work, I like feeling like I'm there and can do my thing. And then when I come home, I like feeling like, okay, there's been a shift now and it's dad mode.
Oh, nice. I've heard other people say that they do it that way intentionally. I've worked from home, I think, for at least 10 years now, and I can't imagine doing it any other way. But my wife gets pissed at me a lot when we're supposed to be on vacation or like doing things with family. I will be responding to emails and texting people, and I can do a lot better, I think, at minimizing that sort of distraction.
Yeah,
But
isn't that the ultimate challenge, though? I mean, I've always been that way as well. And I think a lot of it's because work has always felt like play. And so why wouldn't I want to play even if I'm on vacation? Like, I have no qualms doing that. My wife is a nurse practitioner, and so it's literally impossible for her to bring her work home, right? All of her
right,
patients are in the hospital. So um, it's a different world where, yeah, sometimes it can be harder for people like that in those careers to understand that it is possible to work 24/7 if you want to.
that's a really good point. I never have thought about it that way, but I think it describes really well how I see my interactions with my work because I'm not on any social media platforms besides LinkedIn, for example.
Hmm.
So when I'm interacting with people on LinkedIn, there's always a business purpose to it. I'm either selling somebody, connecting with somebody to do something cool together, or being pitched something because I'm an angel investor and so people pitch me stuff through LinkedIn. And man, I should use that argument with my wife. See how she
Oh,
responds.
look what I've done. I'm a home wrecker now. You know what I found though? Something you just said resonated with me in terms of kind of the cringiness of LinkedIn, where there's always an agenda. I made a New Year resolution this year that so far has been great. Here we are, almost end of February, and I've actually kept it up. But the goal is to reach out to one person per day that I have lost. I don't want to say lost their relationship with, but lost regular contact. So it could be someone from high school or someone from neighborhood I used to live in or a previous job or whatever, and just reach out with no agenda. And just say, hey, was thinking about you today. We haven't talked in ages. I hope you're doing well. Hope the family's healthy. And just leave it at that because I think most people expect there to be another thing coming after that, right? Like, oh, what's
100%.
even that?
Yep.
But just leaving it there and having it lead to kind of, sometimes it ends up in a 30 message thread where we really dig in, and sometimes it's just a quick little, yeah, that was really good to hear from you. But anyways, you should think about it. It's been awesome for me this year.
I am definitely thinking about it for sure. I actually did that with somebody just purely randomly, just because I kind of felt like it. And I hadn't talked to this guy in a long time, but I almost ended up hiring him at one point for
Oh
my
wow.
company. And we just lost touch because he went and found a different job somewhere else that was much better for him. He's doing way better there than he ever would have with me. So I'm really happy he went there. But I just reached out to him and asked him how he was doing at his new job and how he liked it. And that's it. Like I can't sell him anything. There's no agenda besides just seeing how he was doing.
Yeah,
But I
that's
definitely
awesome.
don't do it every day, but I like that concept for sure. So I wanted to ask, I don't ask this to everybody, but for, are you a former athlete?
I am, yeah. So I competed in track and cross country at BYU.
Oh, okay. And on track, what was your event or events?
Yeah, so I did mainly the 1500. So it most people call it the mile. It's a little bit shorter than a mile, but
Yeah, 4 laps basically.
almost, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and your brother also ran at BYU, I
Correct.
believe.
Yeah, I had an older brother and older sister both who ran there. And then my dad, actually going way back in time, was an athlete there as well.
Oh, nice. So I did a little bit of cross country coaching at American Heritage here in American Fork
Oh yeah,
under Coach Hool, Dave Hool.
which one, Dave? Okay,
Yeah, and his brother Scott is the current head coach at UVU, and his brother Eric is head coach at SUU.
yeah, dynasty family for sure.
Yeah, I really think somebody should make a movie about their family.
Agreed.
Honestly,
Super
because
talented.
I've spent a ton of time with Dave. He lives 5 houses down from me, and he's coached my kids in all their sports. And I was his assistant coach in cross country for a year. But I've learned so much just in general terms of how to coach young teen athletes. We never did anything higher than uh, high school,
Uh-huh.
but that was so fulfilling, and I didn't get paid a dime for doing that. And I feel so lucky that I did have that opportunity because God has blessed me with a business that has provided a really good living for my family, which means now I've turned over a lot of the operations to other people. My kids actually do work for me, and my parents work for me. And my parents still live in Provo, which is where I went to school with Josh. And you went to Provo High too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
I
awesome.
I have no idea where I was going with that line of thinking, by the way. But oh yeah, I was going to ask you, as an athlete, former athlete, tell me about your daily routine right now.
Right now or back in the day?
No, right now, as a middle-aged dad bod.
Yeah, yeah. So another one of those New Year resolutions, and I'm sticking with it. I started running again recently. Definitely more on the recreational side though. Like this time it's just for my mental and physical health rather than trying to, go beat some record or time for myself. So I do that at night. I'll run usually 2 or 3 times during the week after we put the kids down in bed. I'll head out for my run, and then I do my long runs on Saturdays. But other than that, it's the typical get the kids out of bed. My wife, like I mentioned, is a nurse practitioner, so she works about half the time. So I'm getting the kids up and ready and fed and out the door. School by 8 o'clock. Come into the office and work the day and try to have a few solid hours of dad time in after work, and then head out on my run.
Do you have a specific morning wake up routine at all?
Oh, I I'm a snoozer, so I'm one of
Mhm.
those annoying people that purposely, like, I know I'm gonna hit the snooze, right? So I set my alarm for 10 minutes earlier than I really need to get going. Um, so no, other than that, I don't think so. It's I kind of don't even know what I do, right? Like you just have this routine. Like I guess I should think about that.
Well, I've been thinking about my mornings for a really long time. I've no idea why I started really paying attention to my mornings, but I
Hmm.
have for at least the last decade. And my routine has changed over the years. But right now, I actually get up at 4:30 in the morning every day,
Wow.
but my alarm isn't set for 4:30. It's just my body gets up naturally at 4:30 now because I spent so much time doing that every single day. And that also means though that I go to bed at like 8:30 at night.
Hmm.
So I'm still getting 7 hours of sleep every night. And when as soon as I wake up, uh, I hate to admit this, but the first thing I do is I look at my phone and I just scroll through emails and do some responding and deleting, and then I get up, I turn on my sauna because I have an in-home sauna that takes 2 hours to warm up. So I got
Oh
to
wow.
immediately go turn it on as soon as I wake up. And then I go take a pre-workout drink, let my dog out of her kennel, and then I study scriptures. I do some brain training on an app called Lumosity,
Hmm.
and then I do my weight workout, weightlifting in my basement. And then I go and sit in my sauna because by that point it's been almost 2 hours. And I meditate in the sauna for about 5 to 6 minutes. And then I get up my kids. I'm the early riser, of course. My wife has been sleeping this whole time through all that I'm doing. And my kids are now starting to get up early in the morning too. My son's 18. He's a senior. This is his last year. He's on the track team at AF, and he's one of the throwers. So
Mm.
neither of my kids like running at all. But my son now gets up in the morning to work out, and my daughter's starting to do that now as well. And I I've not told either one of them that that's what they should do, but I think that's probably, since I don't tell them dad jokes, that's the example that, that they're
They're
seeing.
following you on something.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I have to have a routine like that. Otherwise, my whole day is not nearly as productive.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm definitely someone who enjoys routine other than vacation. I can tell you, um, my wife and I are total opposites. So in normal life, I'm very routine and schedule and agenda driven and want to have everything, planned out and down to the T. But when I go on vacation, I don't want to do anything other than, sit in a chair by the beach and read a book. And she's the opposite. It kind of drives her nuts that I'm a little bit, process oriented and always trying to schedule our lives out. But when she's on vacation, she wants to pack every single second full of things to do and full itinerary. So we kind of vary there a little bit.
Dude, my wife is exactly like that too. Although at home, she's the least organized and process driven person you can imagine. She's a therapist, and she's all about like intuition and feeling people's emotions. And if a session goes 3 hours, it goes 3 hours.
Sure.
Like I could not live my life that way. It would just destroy my schedule and my process. And but when we're on vacation, she goes into process schedule mode,
Isn't that
hardcore.
funny? Interesting.
Yeah. And I honestly I do not like going on vacations because it really pulls me out of my routine. So I have
Mm,
to really be intentional about like being present and having a good time, even though I know I could be home making a bunch of money at the same time.
yeah.
First world problems.
Yeah. Exactly.
So speaking of business and getting stuff done and processes and all that good stuff, I wanted to get to the meat of this show, which is talking about creating a vision and executing on it. So I'm really curious to ask you my first question of the usual show, which is, what is your vision for 2025?
Yeah. My answer is probably going to be more unique than most guests you have on the show. Because right now I'm actually in a position where I am searching for the next thing I'm going to do to be passionate about. So was at a company that I was CEOing for about 9 years, and then a few years ago left that to come and do a stint in venture capital, and I'm now moving on from that as well. So this is recent, just as of the last few weeks. I'm kind of searching for my thing. So to answer your question, what is the vision for 25? I would answer it by saying the vision is to find something that I can be so passionate about to where once again work feels like play. I've been super fortunate in that both jobs, both career steps that I've had to this point, neither of them have felt like employment. I've had an extreme sense of ownership um, and fun in what I've been doing. So that is the job to be done right now for me. The vision is to go find something else that can feel like work is fun.
Okay, so how are you going to execute that into a reality?
Yeah, classic Jared mode. The only way that I know how to do it, right? So I would share it with you, but I won't. It's a just a Google sheet that I'm keeping, basically a little CRM that I built, right? So I've got almost 300 contacts in there now, and this is everything from friends and family to professional contacts that I met in my career. And my game plan that I've been executing is just to talk to as many people as I possibly can. I think there's a stigma out there a lot when people don't have a current job to not want to admit it or talk to people about it because it just kind of feels weird. I take the exact opposite approach. I tell everyone that, hey, I'm looking for my next thing because I firmly believe in the power of networks and in the type of career that I'm searching for. I'm not just going to go find something on Indeed or LinkedIn that's, an actual job posting right now. I want to kind of create a job for myself somewhere. So the playbook is to every day I pull up that little CRM and I'm almost, it's taken a month, but I'm almost all the way through contacting everyone on there. And then there's just daily follow-ups that I need to have. I think last week I had a little over 30 appointments with people, just jumping on quick phone calls or going to lunch or meeting up, to coffee shop just to chat and see what they might know about in terms of opportunities or other people that they can connect me with in their network. So that's the only way I know how to do it is
Sweet.
cast a wide net and start looking at what comes in.
Okay, so I really have to ask you for a big favor then, because based on what I know about you, you are going to find something sooner rather than later. And when you do find that thing, I want to re-interview you and ask you how you decided to do that thing.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah, that'd
and
be fun to talk about.
maybe wait until you've been in it for a few months, and so we can say here's how you decided to do it, and here's how it's going right now. I think that'd be a really fun follow-up to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. My hope would be that people hearing that, especially if they're younger in their career, would take that as evidence that, oh, I can actually move on to something else too. In my last role here, a lot of the folks who reported up to me were in the first job of their career, right? Either they were straight out of college or maybe they had done some consulting or agency work here or there. But for the most part, a lot of them were brand new, and so many of them had the same concern, which was, oh man, am I kind of cornering myself into a specific industry or job type by doing this? I've been here for 2 whole years now, and I'm kind of worried. Like, does that mean that I can only ever work, in this type of role again or in this industry again? And I would always just tell them, you're insane if you think that. Like, you can reinvent yourself anytime you want to. If you're a generally competent person, you can go out into a completely new field, new role, new industry, and make something work. So that would be my hope. Is yeah, I'm more than happy to kind of share my journey as I go through it and prove that it is impossible to recreate yourself somewhere totally new.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting layer to that mindset actually, because I don't know a whole lot of people personally who think that they'll get pigeonholed if they work somewhere for more than 2 years. But I don't have a whole lot of people reporting to me in my business either. So you have been in that role where you're seeing some of this younger generation coming into the workforce. And I've heard that a lot of them are somewhat entitled in their mindset, in that they think that just because they're at a job and working, that means that they should be compensated very well, no matter what their performance is. And so one of the things you said was if you're a generally competent person, you can do just about anything you want to do. And I think that's such an undervalued, underappreciated skill, is just a level of competence that you can bring to anything you do. That typically means you're going to make it work, I think.
Yeah, that's always been my philosophy, especially when it comes to hiring. I'm not nearly as concerned about whether the candidate has, and obviously there are some fields where you have to have like core technical expertise, right? If you're
Right.
talking about developers or creatives, like you need to be able to work with certain tools. But by and large, in general business roles, I'm far more concerned about finding a person who can just figure it out, whatever it is. Like, can you muscle your way through something, and even if you're not an expert now, become an expert in a short amount of time? Can you roll with the punches? Can you deal with ambiguity? That's far more important to me than, does this person come from a background in a similar role, or do they have a certain type of education? I think that's pretty overrated most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I've actually taught my kids from the time they were around 12 or so that you can be successful without a degree in a lot of things. And I personally have a 4-year degree from the university. And so I'm not knocking on university degrees by any means, but there's a stigma also about if you want to be successful in life, you have to get a college degree. That is just not true. It's flat out false. Just look at the people around us who are super wealthy and successful. A lot of them dropped out of college. Some barely finished high school. And history has just shown us that it is no longer about a piece of paper. It is much more about basic transferable skills that you can take to anything you're doing and be not just competent, but actually good at it. And I think it starts with just the ability to have confidence in yourself that you can.
Oh,
Anybody
big
can.
time. Yeah, case in point, I just today, this morning, I spoke with an entrepreneur who in 18 months has gotten up to 8.5 million in annual revenue
Wow.
with unbelievable, wild profit margins. I'm just crushing it. Dropped out of college after junior year, and yeah, did not get the paper like you said. But here's my take on higher education and why I'm with you that it's not a prerequisite and a necessity in order to be successful, but why I will still encourage my kids to do it is because I think it teaches you how to go after a goal and accomplish something hard, even if that hard thing isn't going to be what you end up doing forever. In the kind of roles that I've had, there's been a lot of ambiguity and a lot of wearing different hats where I just have had to figure stuff out. And I know a lot of people, there's a classic line of, why do I have to take econ? I'm going to be a creative. Why do I have to take the prerequisites for, econ or accounting or whatever? And my response is always because it teaches you how to get outside of your comfort zone and figure something out that's hard. If you're going to be a successful professional, and I don't care what career path you take, what industry, there's always going to be circumstances where you come up against something and you're clueless about it. You've had no exposure to it. It's a problem that you don't know how to overcome, but you have to figure it out. And if that's econ 110, like it just college gets you into that motion of figuring out how to do hard things when you have zero experience with it. So
That's very well put, I think. I think I, the takeaway I'm going to take from that is the motion to figure out things that you don't know how to do. That motion, it that's building resilience, and you're actually rewiring your brain at the same time, because the more you bump up against things that you don't know how to solve and you still keep going and you keep trying, that resilience, that's actually super healthy for your brain.
yeah.
They've done studies about it.
Yeah, well, especially in a situation like college where there are clearly defined metrics for how well you do, right? This percent gets a C, this percent gets a B, this percent gets an A. I don't care, frankly. If I were talking to my child right now, I would say I really don't care if you get an A because I wanted you to learn econ. I care if you get an A because there was something really hard to figure out, and getting an A proves that you would do the work and have the wherewithal to discover something new and go through all the hard work to achieve the top level. Couldn't care less if you learn about supply and demand. I just want you to get good grades because it proves that you worked hard at something.
Yep, I love that. That's really good. So I do try and keep my episodes to about 30 minutes, and we're now at that time. I've learned several things from you. This has been awesome for me. So I hope everybody who's listening to this, if you want, I can suggest people connect with you on LinkedIn if that's something that you like doing. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my spelling of my name is very unique. There's only one of me. So
I can say the same exact thing. If people
yeah,
Google me with the exact spelling, nobody else is going to show up on the internet besides me.
yep.
So I loved having you on, Jared Rohatinsky, on my show. This has been the Vision with Execution show. My name's Adam Torkelson, and I hope you all enjoyed this show with me and Jared.